Valentino Rossi has been officially presented as a Petronas Yamaha rider, appearing with new teammate and reigning MotoGP title runner-up Franco Morbidelli at the team's online launch. The only rider on the older A-spec Yamaha, Morbidelli enjoyed a breakthrough 2020 season with his first MotoGP podiums, pole positions and race wins, on the way to second overall behind Suzuki's Joan Mir. With Morbidelli's former teammate Fabio Quartararo taking over Rossi's place at the factory Yamaha team for 2021, the 9-time world champion has effectively swapped places with the Frenchman and is becoming a satellite rider for the first time since 2001. Rossi took his 199th MotoGP podium at Jerez last season and came within a lap of his 200th at Misano, before a nightmare run of accidents and a COVID diagnosis, which forced him out of 2 events, dropped him to 15th in the World Championship. The Red Bull KTM factory team has officially presented its revised rider lineup and latest livery during a digital launch for the 2021 MotoGP season. Brad Binder, who made history for KTM with their first ever victory at Brno last year, stays for a second year and is joined by fellow race winner Miguel Oliveira, who switches across from Tech Trois to take over the seat left by Pol Espargaro. Last season saw KTM become the first new manufacturer to win a MotoGP race since Ducati in 2003. The Austrian factory celebrated 3 wins in total last year, Oliveira adding to Binder's triumph with victories for Tech Trois at the Red Bull Ring in Portimao. Those wins, combined with 8 podiums, meant that KTM has lost access to technical concessions. However, unlike Suzuki, Yamaha, Ducati and Honda, KTM is allowed to change its engine design for the start of 2021, as the final stage in its transition to a non-concession manufacturer. Already teammates in the smaller classes, there was sure to be a healthy rivalry between Oliveira and Binder this year. But although both stood on the top step of the podium in 2020, they finished the championship in very different form. Oliveira bid farewell to Tech Trois with a perfect pole position, fastest lap and race victory at his home Portimao round, one of 7 top 6 finishes in the last 10 races. Meanwhile, Binder only appeared in the top 6 once over those same 10 events, after his earlier Brno glory and a 4th place in Austria. Ducati team has officially presented its all-new MotoGP rider lineup of Jack Miller and Francesco Bagnaia, alongside the latest Desmosedici livery for the 2021 season. Never before has Ducati changed both of its factory team riders at the same time, always retaining at least one rider from the previous season for continuity. But out have gone Andrea Dovizioso and Danilo Petrucci to be replaced by rising stars Miller and Bagnaia from the Pramac team. Special COVID MotoGP technical freeze means the 2021 Desmosedici's engine is unchanged from last year's GP20. However, with Ducati still holding the MotoGP top speed record of 356.5 or 221 miles per hour, set back in 2018, the engine isn't their weak point. Unlike last year, teams will be able to make one aerodynamic update once racing gets underway. But otherwise, Gigi Dall'Igna's team of engineers have been restricted to working on chassis developments and electronics. Having been Marc Marquez and Honda's closest title rivals from 2017 to 2019, Ducati and Andrea Dovizioso took a step back last season with 4th place in the World Championship. But anyone riding for the factory Ducati team is expected to win races sooner rather than later, and that will no doubt be the case for Miller and Bagnaia. Miller, of course, has already taken one MotoGP win as a Marc BDS Honda rider in the wet at Assen back in 2016. And although Dovizioso again finished as the top Ducati rider in last year's World Championship, the 4 podiums by Miller was more than any other Ducati rider last year, and that was despite technical problems at Misano and Le Mans and being taken out by Brad Binder at Aragon. 2018 Moto2 World Champion Bagnaia was also hit by mechanical problems during last year, costing him a debut podium at Jerez. He then suffered a broken leg at Brno in practice, But he fought back from all of that to claim his first MotoGP rostrum at home in Misano, and he looked on course for victory 1 week later until he crashed out the lead. Marc Marquez hasn't been on track since last July, but he at least made a return to Repsol Honda colours alongside new teammate Pol Espargaro for the team's 2021 online presentation. After dominating MotoGP with Marc Marquez in recent seasons, Honda didn't even win a race last year, a situation that hasn't happened in the Premier class since 1981. The factory made technical progress in refining the RCV to suit less extreme talents, and has continued working over the winter with a new chassis and swing arm already tested by Bradl for the 2021 bike. Complications from a fractured arm at the Jerez season opener meant Marquez never completed a race last year and has now undergone 3 operations, most recently last December. During that operation, some infection was detected, which was the reason why the bone had failed to heal. Fortunately, the latest medical update spoke of a favourable situation, with doctors satisfied at the signs of bone regrowth. Nonetheless, Marquez is yet to be seen on any kind of motorcycle and is almost certain to be absent from the start of official testing in Qatar next month. Few would be surprised if Stefan Bradl also takes his place when the new season begins on March 28th. Espargaro, meanwhile, arrives at Repsol Honda fresh from his best MotoGP season, finishing 5th overall in last year's World Championship for KTM. The Spaniard also took 5 podiums, but is yet to win a MotoGP race. A title rival of Marquez in the smaller classes, Espargaro has made clear he's signed for Repsol Honda to try and fight for the MotoGP title and test himself as teammate to the best rider in the world. Suzuki has become the final team to unveil its 2021 MotoGP livery, with reigning world champion Joan Mir and teammate Alex Rins taking the covers off the latest GSX-RR ahead of today's official testing in Qatar. With Mir turning down the number 1 plate in favour of keeping his number 36, the main visual difference is the inclusion of new sponsorship from Monster Energy. Mir began last season without a MotoGP podium, but made history for Suzuki by winning its first Grand Prix title since 2000. Rins, meanwhile, fought back from a dislocated and fractured shoulder at the opening round to win at Aragon and rise to 3rd in the World Championship. For the first time in the team's 20-year history, Tectoy starts a MotoGP season as a proven race winner, courtesy of Miguel Oliveira's victories at Red Bull Ring in Austria in 2020. And while Oliveira has now moved on to the factory KTM team, he's been replaced by another proven winner in the form of Danilo Petrucci. The French team also has a new livery for this season, with KTM itself filling the void left by the departure of Red Bull. With Red Bull gone, Tectoy's new team name is Tectoy KTM Factory Racing. The word factory is significant, with the Austrian manufacturer emphasising that Tectoy is just as important to them as the official team. Tectoy will again receive the very latest RC16 bikes in MotoGP this year, equal in specification to the official team, and with KTM engineers working closely with the Tectoy crew. Depending on how big a step Lecona makes during his second season in the Premier class, much of Tectoy's hopes could rest on the shoulders of Petrucci. The Italian has been a MotoGP winner in the wet and dry, but struggled for much of last year as the characteristics of the new Michelin rear tyre caused some confusion at Ducati. Tectoy and KTM will no doubt be hoping that the RC16, the only bike on the grid with a steel trellis frame and WP suspension, will be a much better match for Petrucci's aggressive style, and that the family atmosphere of Hervé Poncharad's team can help bring out the very best in the Italian. After spending his rookie MotoGP season at Repsol Honda, Alex Marquez switches to the LCR team for 2021, taking over the place of Cal Crutchlow. Suddenly promoted to Repsol team leader following brother Mark's arm injury last season, Alex went on to finish 14th in the World Championship. That might not sound too impressive, but he had the distinction of being the only Honda rider to finish on the podium in 2020, courtesy of second places at Le Mans and Aragon. But with Pol Espargaro's Honda deal agreed before Alex had even started a MotoGP race, the former Moto3 and Moto2 world champion already knew he would be moving to LCR for 2021. After his best season yet as a MotoGP rider, Takagi Nakagami stays with LCR this year, but has been upgraded to the latest Honda machinery. Following Marc Marquez's injury, the Japanese finished as Honda's top rider with 10th place in the World Championship, claiming a first MotoGP pole position along the way. But hopes of a debut podium were repeatedly thwarted, most notably when he fell from the lead on lap 1 at Aragon, and he's vowed to deal with the pressure better this season and capitalise on his proven speed. Aprilia has officially presented its 2021 RSGP MotoGP machine ahead of the start of official testing in Qatar on Friday. "2021 will be Aleix Espargaro's 5th season at Aprilia, the Spaniard looking to bounce back from the false dawn of last year's impressive pre-season form and finally prove that the RSGP can be a podium machine in MotoGP. Pramac Ducati has officially presented its all-new MotoGP rider lineup of Johann Zarco and rookie Jorge Martin alongside the 2021 livery for its factory-spec Desmos Edicis. With both Jack Miller and Francesco Bagnaia moving from Pramac to the official Ducati team this year, the Italian factory has promoted Johann Zarco from Avintia and signed Moto2 star Jorge Martin to take their place. Zarco made history for Avintia last season by taking a year-old Desmos Edici to the team's first MotoGP pole position and podium. Meanwhile, Martin won 2 races in Moto2, but saw his title hopes dented after being forced to miss 2 rounds when he contracted COVID. For the first time since 2012, the factory Yamaha team goes into a new MotoGP season without Valentino Rossi, having signed Fabio Quartararo to join Maverick Vinales for 2021. Yamaha won more races than any other manufacturer last season, with 7 victories from the 14 rounds. But only 1 win, by Vinales at Misano, was by the official team, with Quartararo and teammate Franco Morbidelli claiming 3 wins each for the satellite Petronas outfit. Morbidelli, on the 2019 A-Spec bike, was also Yamaha's top rider in the World Championship, while the other three battled frustrating hit-and-miss form on the latest factory bike. Valve problems, in the form of reliability issues at Jerez and ultimately a penalty for changing supplier, also hung over Yamaha for much of the season, with riders unable to make full use of their engine allocation. Although engine design remains frozen for 2021, the Yamaha riders should at least have a full lineup of engines available for this year, which means they can use the maximum revs. For the chassis, there will be some big decisions to take in terms of whether to switch back to a frame similar to Morbidelli's specification or push further with revised 2020 factory spec. While Vinales has been a clear step ahead of Rossi in terms of results for the past 2 seasons, he is likely to face a tougher challenge from Quartararo. Each will be eager to prove they are the future of Yamaha, but first they must work together in solving the turning and grip problems that left them both without a single podium in the last 6 rounds of 2020.